Dear Internet, I've been wanting to do some of these for a while, but I've been shooting and haven't found the time, so I'm on vacation right now. I'm taking a week off. I'm shooting a series in Iowa for a few months, and I have a week off, and so I decided I'd do one of these videos and you could join me and we can both look at this pretty lake. I'm in way northern Minnesota, and it is cold. Okay, so I've been shooting a lot of TV series the last 2 years, and this year in particular I will have shot, by the end of the year, assuming I finish, I will have shot 32 episodes, I believe, of half-hour scripted television. And I wanted to talk a bit about that because the pace in TV, at least on what I've been on, is pretty intense. You're shooting anywhere from 7 to 11 pages a day. And so you're cranking along. A lot of these shows have a lot of actors in them, which means there are more people to cover in a scene. And, you know, it affects the way that I light. It affects the way I approach coverage. It affects the way I approach my diet for longevity. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've been learning along the way and share them with you, Internet. One of the shows I shot this year is called In the Vault. It's 8 episodes, it's half hour, and it's a mystery thriller, I suppose you would call it. It is a bunch of students who are freshmen in college, and at the end of the pilot, one of them dies. And so then it becomes a little mystery, like who did it, or did she commit suicide, or blah, blah, blah. So there were many challenging aspects of this show. One of them was figuring out how to cover scenes that have a lot of actors in them. You will often find yourself in a room with 5, 6, 8, 9 actors, and everybody has 1 or 2 lines, and it's hard to plan it out. Some of it is blocking, some of it is, you know, trying to be efficient with your coverage, but you don't want scenes to end up kind of cut, unless, you know, that's part of the feeling you want to have. So I want to pull up a scene here from episode 2 of In the Vault, a scene that I love.
I didn't kill her. You are so guilty.
Okay, so in the previous episode, Jane, this is our character Jane, her roommate died, and she's kind of in a daze, and she's going through, and so I love this as an approach. This is about Jane, this is her episode, and so we stay with her. So we shot with Sumalux as our primes. Those are an F2, I believe, which is very fast, but I'm very spoiled. I love super speeds, and I love being able to shoot wide and a shallow depth of field for exactly this reason. I like to be able to isolate a character even when you're in a wide space. And so for this, I opened it up as much as I could. I tried to be relatively close to her to keep the depth of field shallow. And then so Charles Hood was the director of this episode. This is really his work. What you're about to see is he blocked them according to dialogue and who's talking to who and who needs to challenge who. And then I had to basically memorize this. This happens sometimes where I have to essentially memorize the dialogue for a scene, or at least all of the cue lines, because as you're about to see, so here we go. So she's walking down the hall. People are talking already, which I love, out of focus, off camera. This shot, she kind of walks in as the shallow depth of field stays on her side, but then we start drifting around, and we're with her. I'm going to pause here for a moment. This is Audrey Whitby, wonderful actress. One of the reasons I love shooting her is because of her eyes. Her eyes catch all the lights, and so I don't have to do a lot of work. So this is a perfect example here. But so again, we're with her, shallow depth of field, her world is she's all internal at this point. Everything's internal, everything around her is kind of like a daze. And so on the students, as you saw in the last one, you get your first taste. So the beginning of this is pretty mellow. It's here, they have a little thing, we go over to Taylor, and back to her. So the beginning of this is nice. It's really about Jane, but now everybody else starts jumping in, and I love this. So let's see. So now you travel across, and now you're set up both for Taylor here and Denise behind him. So again, this is blocking and staging, and then we, once we got the camera in there trying to tweak, I was on a slider so I could make micro adjustments, but I had to memorize because I didn't want to be late to actors, but I didn't want to get there early either. So I had to memorize when it's coming so I could be ready and move in. Then this moment here, before we get to our detective, this I kept, so there were, somebody would drop a line, so we'd have to start over, or I wouldn't land it perfectly, which I hate being the reason we have to, but this is how we did. Getting the camcorder in here and making that move fluid was such a pain in my ass, but it felt so good when we got it. And then here at the very end, after doing this choreography, you get to rack to the detective, he splits them, and then one of my favorite things is a well thought out 180 flip, 180 line flip. And so this is perfect. I have a couple of these in this show, but I love flipping the line like that. It makes perfect sense. And then you have this lovely, all of our suspects here, all lined up, a lovely, lovely presentation, but all now, everybody turning and everybody leading to Jane, again, who this is about. So this whole scene from beginning to end, I was so happy with all the little pieces, and then it came together so nicely. And so that's Charles, the director, his editor, Jess, to be able to resist, because there are lines that are off camera, and to be able to resist cutting to that is something that I have a great appreciation for. Because it allows you to control the mood and the pace in a scene, within a scene. So that is one of my favorite scenes. Since we're here, I'm gonna jump forward. Here's another scene that I very much love. It is a oneer, but again, we're with Jane. This is about Jane. This is about the pressure on Jane. So it's this move, and during the move, I'm burying a zoom in there. And so you're getting a little tighter as you go, as it's going across. We had B-cam set up for a beautiful shot. They had a great shot looking across the two detectives in our foreground, shooting across. And, this is Charles, the director and the editor, resisting the urge to cut. Usually when you have a nice looking B-cam shot, second, third cam, whatever, I'm going to pause it right there for a second. You can't resist. They want to cut to it because they want to use this performance and then this performance. It gives them something to cut away to and cut back. It's one of the reasons that I don't love two camera shoots, because you end up, you're just running out of time constantly. So stealing a shot is always nice, but it can break the rhythm of a scene a lot. And so I pretty much always, if I think B-cam can get in there, then I send them in, as long as they don't get in the way of the A-cam or the actors or whatever. But the danger of that is the theoretical danger is that it will get used in post, and if it's not a thought out shot, but again, mostly you're chasing your tail. You have all these pages to shoot, so any additional footage is good footage for the most part. I wanted to pause it here because this is just a small thing, but Charles, our director, who loves David Fincher, who influenced the look of this very much, loves that little flare. That's a light coming in, bouncing off the desk and hitting the lens. And I thought he was going to make me get rid of it because Fincher likes everything very clean, very controlled. He hates anamorphic. It's clean, control. And Charles is an interesting mix because he loves Fincher for how intelligent and great a filmmaker he is, but he also wants character. He doesn't like clean lenses. We filter everything up pretty much that I've shot for him over the last couple of years. So anyway, that was a fun little thing because I love a flare and he loves a flare. And this is although this is kind of more of a smear than a flare, but I really like that. It's wonderful. There's another oneer of Jane again after this, but I'm going to jump forward. Okay, so this one is insane. Let's pause for a second. Let's talk about zooms. So 2 years ago, I've shot on zooms plenty, but I've always been a primes guy. One of the reasons is I came up doing a lot of independent work, and so there's not a lot of budget or time, and primes tend to be faster. And when you can open something up, this was like a big phase when DSLRs came up and the 5D was everything was shallow depth of field, but I love the control of that in some sort of scenario where you don't have a beautiful lake behind you and you actually have some white walls or some ugly production design or whatever. You throw it out of focus, a close-up looks nice, it's kind of a quick and easy way through something like that. So that said, I've become used to primes. They force you to make choices. I love it. But Charles, the director of this episode, he had been hounding me at that point for about a year, being like, you got to shoot more, or less than a year, 6 months, something like that. Like, we got to get you on zooms. He was shooting this other series and sending me shots where they were doing a dolly and a zoom at the same time. And then I started, there are lots of filmmakers who make great use of zooms, Kubrick being the guy always comes to my mind. But Blake Edwards I just started watching for comedy stuff. Anyway, so zooms, I've kind of had a little like, no, I don't really poo-poo it. But burying zooms in dolly moves and slides kind of intrigued me. And so this scene would have been impossible without a zoom. So this is, again, really strong choreography. This is figuring out who needs to be where, but this is toward the end of this episode. We don't know who killed this other character, or again, if she even was killed, maybe it was a suicide. And so now we're kind of meeting everybody, and so they all have their own tensions. And so this is, Charles and I refer to this as our Robert Altman shot. This is a lot of different things going on in the same space. You kind of rest and linger. Again, this is another spot where I had to memorize everything. My dolly grip, Jason, who's also the key grip, also had to kind of memorize everything. I don't like, a camera move because the camera wants to go. So like dialogue being able to pull you over is huge, or action, somebody's look. You don't want the camera to go because, oh, there's something over there. You want to be pulled in a direction.
You okay?
I'm fine.
All I have is bleach. Does that work?
Right here, there's a dolly zoom happening, but I wanted it to be subtle because I had to reset into a wide lens so I could land here, which this is the end. So after all this landing kept going not so great with Jane coming in, and we had to reset and reset and reset, and then finally we got it, but it required, it's like a long lens, getting wide, getting long. Oh, did I miss my favorite part? I think I did. Guys, you're gonna rewind with me. All right, this is one of my favorite things. And this is them just continuing to act. This is Paul and Sadie are the actors here on the left. So we're coming back. This scene's about them, but to come back and they're still in it, I just was so happy when we found a position where I could hold them still. Anyway, so here we go back to that ending. So really difficult to do, but boy, we got it. I think this might have been actually, I don't remember. I'm not even gonna guess. Okay, so that's all for now. I will probably talk about lighting in the future, probably more coverage, since that's been something I've been working on a lot. Maybe some composition things, I don't know. But if you have any particular questions or anything that you see that you want explained, let me know. I'm gonna try to do more of these, but I have another 5 weeks on this other series that I'm shooting, and on the weekends, I don't really feel like I can talk to a camera or a human. So I think that's it. Enjoy the view.